Yeah, it was a tough week last week, wasn't it? It was a tough week. And we have to talk about it. We cannot bury our head in the sand about, what's going on around us and how it's affecting us. I know Friday, my energy was so low on Friday, and I finally realized it was taking everything in of what was happening. And that's normal. That's normal for us to really feel. And I think that we have to feel, because we do not want to get used to this. And yet at the same time, when it kind of came here to Springfield, I think probably for most of us, it certainly exponentially raised our level of awareness. And I know even for myself, just, thinking about going someplace with the kids, I thought about it. And I was in a much more heightened awareness when I was someplace. And a big part of that is our new norm at this point in time. It's not to live in fear, because we don't want to live in fear, but at the same time, we have to be more aware, right? That kind of sucks, doesn't it? It does. That's not an easy thing for us. So I'm going to talk about this today, but I'm going to talk about it first by sharing with you what unity is about, what unity as a whole is about. First of all, I want to make sure that everybody knows that on October 21st, we are doing a trip to Unity Village. We're wanting to give you a lot of notice, so if you need to take a day's vacation, a lot of people will be carpooling from here, going up for the day. There's going to be all kinds of things that we're going to do up there that day. We're going to get to see so many things, and if you've not been up to Unity Village, which also houses Unity Worldwide Ministries, I encourage you to do this. If you want to go up the day before, call the motel up there, and they have a corporate rate for us. So anybody who wants to do that can do that as well. So Unity Worldwide Ministries, I got on the website, and I want to tell you what it is that we are about. Now, remember that in Unity, we don't say that you have to believe everything that we teach. That's one of the beautiful things about Unity, is that you are encouraged to go into your own beingness and allow the truths to be revealed. But I think it's important that we all know where we stand as a whole on many things. Now, these are just who are we. Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. Unity honors the universal truths in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. One of the things that you'll see, one of the quotes that I hear quite often with Unity, is that we envision a world that works for all. Hold on to that, okay? A world that works for all leaves nobody out, right? Okay. Vision and mission. Our vision is a world, powerfully transformed through the growing movement of spiritual awakening. Mission is advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through Unity, a positive path for spiritual living. Some of the values: we are spirit-led. We are generous, using our money to serve the world. We believe in transformation on the cutting edge of spiritual evolution. We believe in supporting diversity. All people are created with sacred worth. We believe in integrity, that we do what we say we're going to do. We keep our word, and in unity as a whole, loving, collaborative, and respectful. Now, there's a couple of statements that Unity has. Unity has a diversity statement. I'm going to share some of that. We recognize and honor the divine within as the one common denominator that we share on our human journey, recognizing that there is inherent good in all people. All people, no matter how they've shown up. There's inherent good. It is the intent that Unity organizations are inclusive and non-discriminatory. We honor all components that contribute to the diversity of community. We affirm and support Unity principles and programs that manifest diversity in our teachings, policies, buildings, and within our communities. We are resolute in walking the course of human rights and social justice for all. Hear this again. We are resolute. That doesn't really leave any room, does it? We are resolute in walking, in taking action movement, the course of human rights and social justice for all. Unity has an earth care covenant. We recognize that we live in a web of interconnectedness and our actions affect the whole. We endeavor to touch the earth lightly and with reverence, and we encourage our members to do the same. Unity has a citizens' climate lobby. I'm going to read a sentence out of here. Unity Worldwide Ministry also acknowledges that climate change is an issue, resulting in both environmental degradation and social injustice. As such, we commit to serve as our faith leads us to taking steps in healing the planet. We believe in climate change. Unity also has a statement of peace. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. And Unity has an awesome statement of social action. And I'm going to read some of this to you. Webster defines unity as the state of forming a complete and pleasing whole. That's us. We are a complete and pleasing whole. That's unity. At this time in the evolution of the planet and the lives of human beings upon it, the task of forming a complete and pleasing whole is the imperative for positive evolution and harmonious existence for all. This perspective has seemingly been lost, our wholeness, our oneness, our sameness as a human race. We must now remember more than ever that we have much more in common than that which divides us. Hear this, because this is so important right now, because there is so much division. We have so much more in common than that which divides us. Where there is oppression and hatred, we stand for justice and understanding and for extending compassion, kindness, and forgiveness to restore balance. Where there is discrimination, we stand for inclusivity and equality. If we're standing for it, guess what? We're moving. We're taking action. We pledge to be an advocate for the well-being, respect, and civil freedom of every human being. Any proposal or action that seeks to discriminate against individuals or classes of individuals based on prejudice, stereotypic profiles of national origin, class, creed, race, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity is in opposition to the core beliefs and values established by our founders. We choose unity. In harmony with the divine spirit, we stand so we may live in a spiritually awakened world that is continually evolving. This is our prayer and our degree, and through our actions, we let it be. I think it's so important that we know what it is that we are all standing on. And I feel pretty dang proud of that. How about you guys? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I'm so proud of who we are and of who we are continuing to become in this wonderful world around us. If you want to know more, go to unityworldwideministries.org or go to unity.org, and you can read about all kinds of different things. So I want to share with you, I was watching another Oprah Soulful Sunday, and she had a Sister Joan Chittister on, and she has a book called The Time Is Now, and obviously she is a Catholic nun. She is supported by Father Richard Rohr, who we've been talking about for many weeks now. So the question is, how do we really get out of the swamp that we're in? And the answer is by confronting it. And so the question is, well, how? And the answer is truthfully. So what will that take? The answer is it will take a model, a vision, a commitment, courage, and what else is needed to fix this muddled world? You and me in action. Absolutely. So I love where she goes with this, because she talks about becoming a spiritual prophet. And you know, when you look in the Bible, the prophets were the ones that were going out and they were speaking a message, and they were speaking that message with conviction. And they were speaking that message many times in the face of great opposition, but they continued to speak that message because that message was true to their heart and it was true to their soul. And so she's calling us all to become spiritual prophets in a time when it is so needed. She says, this book is about the prophet in you. A world gone badly askew stands on the cusp between authoritarianism and freedom, between universal compassion and national self-centeredness. It is a world scarred with violence, institutionalized fraud, rapacious human degradation, political suppression, economic slavery, and rampant narcissism. It is a world in wait. It waits for some wise and wild voices to lead us back to spiritual sanity. Our world waits for you and for me, for spiritual people everywhere to refuse to be pawns in the destruction of a global world for the sake of national self-centeredness. The only question is, will we take up what we know is our moral and spiritual responsibility to make the world a better place for everyone, leaving no one out, to bring life to the fullness of creation for all, to help bring about equality, safety, security, and compassion for all? It's a big call, isn't it? But we're all up to it. That I can tell you. And she said this is where the prophet comes in. The prophet is the person who says no to everything that God is not. So the prophet says no to the abuse of women, to the rejection of the stranger, no to crimes against immigrants, no to the rape of trees, no to the pollution of the skies, no to the poisoning of the oceans, no to the despicable destruction of humankind for the sake of more wealth, more power, more control for a few, and no to death. The spiritual prophet says yes to equal rights for all, yes to alleviating suffering, yes to embracing the different, yes to who God made you, and yes to life. This is prophetic spirituality. And she says it's a way for us to live with our eyes wide open and with our hearts full of fervor for life. And in short, she says it's about living our faith out on the streets of the world rather than just talking about it. It's bringing ourselves fully out there and being willing to be seen. And we have talked about this before, but it is so important that we are speaking, that we are living, that we are being the best expression of what we would call God that we can possibly be. Now, Marianne Williamson, who I know is a candidate for president, that is not what I'm talking about today, because first, Marianne Williamson was a unity minister, and she continues to be a spiritual leader. Last Sunday, she did a talk at a unity church, and I was so inspired by her message, and especially her message coming on the wake of another 2 mass shootings, that happened in Texas and in Ohio. And I'm going to share with you a lot of her words. Now, remember I talked about the quote that we envision a world that works for all, a world that works for everyone. And she said one of the challenges that she has had with New Thought movements is our lack of involvement. That we're pretty good about sitting back and envisioning things and holding the consciousness. But she asked the question, is that really enough? Is that really all that God wants from us? Is that really all that God asks of us, to sit and just envision things? And she uses the first part of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, how does that kingdom come forth? Through us, correct? It comes forth through us. Through us being willing to be out there and be doing something to help this kingdom of heaven come forth on this thing that we call earth. She says that there's a lot of talk about the divine feminine, and that's beautiful and wonderful, and it's been needed, she said, but there is also the divine masculine. The divine feminine, she says, is you receive it. The divine masculine is you get her done. And she says, divine masculine is you make it happen, you lay it down on earth as it is in heaven. We are both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And it is important that we are bringing those forth together, that we are doing the feminine aspects, but we're also taking action and making it happen. She said spiritual darkness is to spiritual light just as physical darkness is to physical light, in that it is not a thing in and of itself. It's an absence of a thing. The darkness is simply the absence of light. And she says our country is plagued by darkness because we are not dedicated to the light. Our country is plagued by fear because we are not consciously and proactively dedicated to love. And the question she asked is, are we doing everything that we can to bring forth heaven on earth? And I'll tell you what, when you really get down to that question, and when you really let yourself search your soul and search, just even think about one day in your life, how committed are we? Because it is so important that we become more and more committed to this. She says the love that will change the world is not simply a love for our own children. The love that will change the world is not simply a love for our own tribe. That the love that will change the world is a love that is as intense for children on the other side of town as it is for our own children. The love that will change the world is a love that is as intense for children on the other side of the world as it is for our own children. She says that the love that will save the world is not just love for our fellow Americans. The love that will save the world is that true and real convicted love for every sentient being. And she says that is our spiritual calling, and it is the only solution to the challenges of our time. That is the only solution. That is the solution that will literally change. It will change this country, and it will change this world. She says that she's a big Course in Miracles person, and in Course in Miracles it says that miracles arise from conviction. And she says conviction is a force multiplier. The problem isn't that there are more haters than there are lovers. The problem is that the haters are hating with conviction, and the problem is that those of us who love have not been loving with the level of conviction necessary to shut down this evil force mix. Now let's talk about evil for a moment. Charles Filmer, our co-founder, says evil is a parasite, and it has no permanent life of itself, except its whole existence depends on the life it borrows from its parent, on the belief in it, on the energy that we're putting into it. And the moment that that relationship is severed, there is no evil, because evil in and of itself is not a power. Only love. There's only love. Love is the one and only power. But we experience evil in our life. We experience people being really turned away from the light. Yes, we've experienced in these mass shootings. That's evil. That's being so in such darkness and bringing such incredible pain, to people. And that it is just so important for us to really recognize where in our own selves we have been maybe falling short. I want to share with you that on TV they had the family of an older couple that the older couple were both shot in the El Paso shootings. And their grandson, who looked to be maybe like a 17, 18-year-old, said, I just don't want this to be used for more hate and more division. And I just thought, wow, he is spiritually so mature in that he doesn't want this to create more hate. He doesn't want this to create more decision. He doesn't want this to create more arguments, more, standing on this side and standing on this side and saying, see. He wants this, and he didn't say this, but clearly he wants this to be something where we can figure out how to come together. Because you guys, we have got to learn how to come together. We have, I on social media, it's amazing to me as I read posts how horrific people are talking, how they're name calling and they're saying these horrible things to other people, and it's just like, is that going to add to any possibility of coming together? No. I think it's important to stand for what you believe in. I post what I believe in. And sometimes people get on there and they get in arguments, which is like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to start an argument. But I don't go to other people's posts that I don't agree on and argue with them about it, because that's your belief. You have a right to what you believe. I'm not going to argue with you about what you believe, but I'm still going to post what I believe. And, I did have to block one person because this person was constantly calling people names. And I was just like, I can't do that anymore. I can't let this person post on my wall anymore. And it's just like recognizing, so the point here is we have to start looking at our own lives. We have to start looking at ourselves and saying, where am I maybe not presencing love? Where am I maybe withholding love? Anybody ever withhold love? Did anybody do it this morning? Yesterday? You can withhold love by being mad at somebody who cut you off in the traffic. It was interesting after this young man went into Walmart here in Springfield. And man, I was waiting. I couldn't wait to see him, hoping they're going to be able to charge him with something, as I was mad. And it comes to our city and all of a sudden it's personal, And so when I found out that they were charging him, I was like, yes, this, he so deserves that. I can't believe, And then I saw his family on the news. I saw his sisters and I saw his wife. And I heard these people saying, he's not a bad guy. He did something that was so stupid, but he is a good guy. And in that moment, it was just like my heart just opened, and that's where we have to catch ourselves. Like, what was I adding to there? Was I adding to love? Was I adding to peace? Was I adding to oneness? Absolutely not. And do you guys ever get there? And it's important not to beat ourselves up, but to recognize, where am I withholding love? Where am I judging unrighteously? Where am I gossiping about somebody? How about, where am I taking the time to envision a world that works for all? Or am I so caught up in all this stuff that's happening? Am I just angry about that? Am I just talking about that all the time? Because we are called to do many things, and one is, and we know the power of visioning, is to spend some time and saying, well, what would it look like in a world that works for all? Am I praying for my leaders? Am I praying for my leaders? Am I holding and seeing the good in them, even if I don't agree with them? Am I doing that? Because you know what? That's powerful that we do that. And one of the things that Marianne talks about is, every day before we walk out into this world, you guys, we've got to fortify ourselves. And what that means is we have to fill our cup. However that is going to look for you. Whether it's reading the daily word, whether it's a journaling thing, whatever it is, but you've got to fill your cup so that when you step out, well, not even step out, turn the TV on or open up Facebook or whatever, that you are fortified in the power of love. You are fortified in the power of kindness and compassion and oneness and inclusivity, that you're fortified in these things so you don't go down the rabbit hole so easily. So that we can then be a force for good. We can catch ourselves before we react. Because we're good reactors, aren't we? Are you pretty good at that? But when we fortify ourselves, we're going to be less reactive. We're going to be more responsive. We're going to respond from a place that's a little bit higher. And that's what's going to change things. That's what's going to change things. And I want to tell you that you matter. You are significant in this. That it takes every one of us making this decision in our soul, in our heart, our mind, to say, I want to be the clearest expression. I used to love this song that's, I want to be a window to his love. I want to be a window of God's love. So when you look at me, you will see that. You will see love. You will experience love. I want to be that. Don't you want to be that? Don't you want to be that expression of kindness and compassion, that's your first go-to? Your first go-to, instead of judgment and criticism and separation. So it's just important for us to look in our own beingness and see, where am I? Where am I hating somebody? Where am I not even looking at somebody as a human being? Could be somebody on the road that has a sign. And we have to catch those things, you guys. We have to catch those. And we shift those. And every time that we shift it, a little bit of a new neural pathway is beginning in our brain. And the more we do it, 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 that old neural pathway, it quits getting sparked. And before long, it's the norm for us. It's the norm for us. Here's the thing about it, which I love, is that then we won't stand idly by anymore. Because when we see something that we know is not okay, that is happening to somebody else, everything in us will stand for what is right and what is true. We will stand for that. And as a spiritual prophet, what I want to tell you, it is important that you voice it, that you stand for it, that you are it. So in closing, I was just guided this morning. It was like the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. If there is one thing that can get you fortified in the morning, it's this prayer. If all you do before you start your day is read this prayer and feel it, it will fortify you. So let's share before we do that, I have two quotes I want to share with you. One is, it's a misconception that the ultimate power belongs to the government, because the greatest power has always and will always belong to the people. The 1% knows this, which is why they divide us, so we can hate and fear each other, thereby disempowering the greatest power there is, which is the power of the people. It is critical that we stop fighting against each other and begin fighting for each other, because that is what it means to be human. And that is what makes us whole. And I love this by Mother Teresa. I used to pray that God would feed the hungry or do this or that. But now I pray that he will guide me to do whatever I'm supposed to do, whatever I can do. I used to pray for answers, but now I'm praying for strength. I used to believe that prayer changes things, but now I know that prayer changes us, and we change things. Beautiful, huh? Okay. Prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Together, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. So I just want to encourage you to go out there, and I want you to play your instruments only the way that you can play them. Because you know what? When we're all playing our instruments, it creates this incredible harmony. Beautiful, beautiful music. And the world needs our music more than ever. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.